Thank you for joining this webinar this morning. My name's David Nunan, and it's a great pleasure for me as the course director to be introducing our new MSc in Evidence-Based Healthcare Teaching and Education. And just to say thank you all for your interest in this course. And I hope to, by the end of the session, have given you an introduction and a bit of a background to the session, and then some opportunity for some questions that you guys can ask to me as well. So let's get underway. The format for today's webinar is, again, like I said, some introduction. So who are we? And then I want to give you an overview of the MSc, particularly talking about going into a bit more detail around the modules on the MSc, the delivery of those, and sort of the assessments that are involved. And then also I want to talk a little bit about some of the additional things that the course can offer you in terms of professional development, and then hopefully a bit of time for some Q&A. The session is being recorded, but we won't put out the parts on the Q&A, but we will put out the parts on the presentation side of things, just so you know. And feel free to use the chat. We've got Megan on board who's going to help modulate that as well. So we'll keep an eye on that as we go along. So just by way of starting, a little bit about us, if you don't know who we are. So in 1994, the chap on the left here is Sir Muir Gray, who was working in Oxford for part of the NHS in his public health role. And he came across for the first time in his readings this term evidence-based medicine. And when he started to look into it a little bit more, he found out who was sort of leading the charge in this field, and came across the name of David Sackett, who's the fellow on the right. And as part of that, Muir Gray, if you don't know him, he's a very eloquent speaker and can convince most people to do most things for him. He's very good at that. So he managed to convince David Sackett to come over to Oxford to start the EBM movement in Oxford and in this country. And that's exactly what David did when he came over in 1995 and formed the Centre of Evidence-Based Medicine here in Oxford. So over that time, and since that time, the centre has grown. It's become hugely successful and popular, with some of the key staff that I'm showing you here now, who will be part and delivering and being involved in the new MSc that we're discussing today. And also as part of that, we've expanded in terms of collaboration and outside of the centre itself, with a number of fellows and a number of associates. And again, these are sort of world leaders in the topics of not just evidence-based healthcare, but also medical education and research methods. So all that input will be part of the people inputting into this MSc. Here is our newish building on the old Radcliffe Infirmary site, which used to be a hospital. And you'll get to see, you'll have a chance to see that if you join our course and come on our modules on our programme. As part of our remit within the Centre for Evidence-Based Medicine, education was right at the forefront of when David Sackett came over and wanted to start things going. And we immediately sort of set about working about how we can start to strategically build up the infrastructure to deliver educational courses, both on how to do EBM and how to do research, but also on the teaching front as well. So we teamed up with the Department for Continuing Education, and over time, the first MSc was launched in 2011 in evidence-based healthcare. And again, over time and with a lot of hard work and due diligence and efforts, we've managed to grow that program into a broad range across a DPhil program, MScs and postgraduate certificates and diplomas, as well as short courses. And today, I'm really happy to be introducing the latest addition to that program on teaching education. But I'm also going to talk a little bit about the postgraduate certificate in teaching evidence-based healthcare, for which I'm also the current director. And that course in particular was started in September 2019, building off the back of one of our flagship sort of short courses, teaching evidence-based medicine. We further developed that out into an additional 2 modules on educational related medical education related topics, as well as course design and assessment and evaluation, to build out to a 3-modular package for a certificate. And that was successfully launched in September 2019. And very happy to say that we've had our first and now our second cohort successfully go through that 1-year program and qualify with their teaching in evidence-based healthcare certificates. But then, building on the success of that certificate, we also wanted to offer the opportunity for learners to engage in some research activity as well, and that lends itself to a nice package where we can offer an MSc, where we can add in additional skills and additional training and additional opportunities, particularly in the research around teaching and education in this topic. So, just swiftly moving to the actual MSc and a bit of an overview of that. So in terms of who the course is aimed at. So it's aimed at educators of evidence-based healthcare, and that can be across the spectrum, from novices to more experienced, and people leading courses such as myself and that sort of level as well. And it's designed to accommodate professionals both in full-time and part-time employment. And we aim ideally to improve not just your knowledge, but also your application of educational, research and leadership skills, again, specifically around the topic of evidence-based healthcare and evidence-based medicine. But one of the key things we've also tried to introduce onto this MSc is the opportunities for continued professional development built into the MSc, and I'll show you that in a few slides' time, where we've got some additional opportunities built into the MSc. So it's a 2 to 4 year part-time course, and it's modular based. So it entails 6 modules, 4 of which are core modules, and 2 of which you have an option from 11 to choose from. And then there's a final dissertation at the end of the course. And I'll talk a little bit more about that as well. And in terms of the sort of format and how we tend to deliver this program, so the modules are either a mixture of a blended learning model, which involves some face-to-face teaching and contact within Oxford, and then a sort of post sort of face-to-face online additional tasks and activities and learning. But there's also some modules that are fully online, and I'll talk a little bit about that model just now as we go forward. So here are the list of modules, and they're all available on our website for you. And each one you can go and see. There's a separate web page for each of them. But just to point out, the first 4 at the top are the core modules, and then you've got an optional choice from the 2 modules from two modules from 11 modules in the bottom section there. And in terms of sort of what we cover in the compulsory modules, it's a mixture of learning and knowledge and gaining of educational theory, but also educational practice, and how to apply that, again, using practical skills and evidence-based healthcare micro-teaching sessions to really embed and practice and develop our skills in teaching this topic. Hopefully, we hope on some of the reliable and existing educational theory and evidence to support that. Lots of the core modules are around your own self-development as an educator and as a leader in this field, with lots of self-reflection and self-reflective practice taking place. And there's a heavy emphasis on work-based learning. So a lot of the activities that will get you to be involved with and things around the assignments are often related back to your own workplaces. So trying to tailor and bring that learning and new knowledge and skills to your actual work that you do on a day-to-day basis. In terms of the optional modules, you can see that they're a little bit more research methods orientated, and the reason for this is that we think that these optional modules will give you options to support what you might go forward to do in your dissertation. And your dissertation is likely to be some sort of research or potentially a sort of literature review or a more formal systematic review or something along those lines. And these skills will hopefully these optional modules hopefully help you attain some of the skills that you might need to complete that dissertation. the majority of the modules offer a problem-based and usually a task-orientated format in lots of in the way that they run. So there's lots of hands-on work, there's lots of application of practical skills again across these modules. All the modules feature individual and small group work. So it's a mixture of peer-to-peer and tutor-led formative feedback throughout the modules in either sort of an individual basis, but also we have a good emphasis and a strong emphasis on small group work and learning from each other. I mentioned the postgraduate certificate in teaching evidence-based healthcare. Well, the first 3 modules of the compulsory modules of the MSc actually also form the postgraduate certificate in teaching evidence-based healthcare. So that gives an option if perhaps the MSc is not something quite suitable, then we've got an option of a formal qualification in this topic via the 3 core modules that are already on the MSc, and that's already up and running and in place, like I've said. And then just to point out that all of our modules can be offered as a standalone for credit and a non-credit bearing option. So almost like a taster and just to try out. And we can also port over, if you do one module, say you complete a module and you do it for credit and you pass the assignment, you can bring that module into the overall PG certificate. So you don't have to start that module again. You can bring that one module in if you decide that you do want to start the certificate later on. And if you want to start the MSc, you can actually bring 3 modules from the program into the MSc. So that gives you some more flexibility and some more options. In terms of the blended learning sort of remit and format, the modules usually run over an 8 to 16 week period. It's slightly longer, the 16-week period for our some of our modules, because of, again, the work-based nature. And often it might be things like delivering teaching and evaluating your teaching and then sharing that with us. So that takes a little bit more planning and you need a little bit more time in order to be able to deliver on that. So we have a slightly longer extended for some of our modules. But usually they follow a sort of introductory activities using our online VLE, virtual learning environment, which is through Canvas. And then there's a second week where we hope, although that has been challenging, as you can all imagine, and I'm sure you're all familiar with, a face-to-face week in Oxford, which will be, again, a mixture of plenary sessions, small group work, task-orientated activities, usually around problem-based learning as well. Then once we finish that Oxford week, we have a period of online support and further further learning on the topics that we've covered usually in the face-to-face week. And again, that's peer-to-peer led as well as tutor-led feedback and instruction as we go along. Then towards the end of the particular module, depending on the time frame of that module, there's a period of individual study for you to sort of consolidate. And then there's an assignment to be submitted at the end of that course. In terms of the sort of face-to-face where we teach, this is Rewley House, which houses and is the home of the Department for Continuing Education, and where most of our teaching on this program takes place. And just to show you a few snippets of the sort of what the place looks like, and it's a lovely environment with the teaching space, the communal space, and the sort of facilities for dining, all in one place, and also accommodation as well. In terms of the fully online modules, again, these are run over a sort of 9 to 11 week period. They're delivered via Canvas, which is the virtual learning environment that we have chosen, and we also use MS Teams to offer weekly learning sessions and units as live synchronous seminars. This can also be group work or discussion forums that we have. As I say, these are synchronous and sort of get together sessions where they're live and we can have some discussions, but they're interspaced with self-paced asynchronous sort of offline learning activities to support what you're doing. And again, there'll be a period towards the end of individual study, and there'll be a written or a task-orientated assignment. In terms of assignments or assessments, there's a mixture of formative feedback, which again will be peer-to-peer and tutor-led. And we really do find that the peer-to-peer, and particularly in this sort of cohort of participants, is really, really, really valuable, because, like I say, you're going to have hopefully a broad spectrum of experience in the room, and we often find that learning lots from that different experience is really, really valuable. But there's also a summative assessment, and these are module dependent. So it's either going to be a 4,000 word written assignment in the form of an essay, but some modules choose a sort of short answer question format. And then some modules have very specific tasks and exercises as part of the assessment. And this might be things like things in data analysis or problem solving and statistics. And these sorts of modules tend to offer a bit more of a task orientated assessment. And then for the dissertation towards the end, there's a 15,000 word limit on that dissertation, but it's a topic of your choice, and you'll be supervised and given a supervisor to help you orientate and work out what that topic is. And hopefully meet a topic that's of interest to you that you then take forward into your final year for completion, and with support again from a supervisor. In terms of professional development, one of the things I wanted to sort of point out as well, that's and what's quite unique about most of our programs, but in particular with this program, is our university collegiate program. So when you join the University of Oxford, you don't just join the university, but you also join the collegiate system, and you'll have a choice from 4 different colleges to join, and that offers another opportunity, particularly for networking, sharing your ideas, sharing your work, and learning from other students and other participants across different programs, because across the university, because that's the diversity that we have in these different college networks. So you have a choice from 4 colleges to join. And we've particularly chosen colleges that have a strong graduate remit behind them to support you. You'll have an alumni network now, I think with 2,000 plus people who have come through our programs, and perhaps maybe 400 or 500 that have come through the teaching side of things. So a strong alumni network to connect with and share and gather with. And then there's one other important additional topic that we've included, which is the opportunity to attain fellowship accreditation from something called the Advanced HE, which is a UK organisation that recognises the professional teaching and work in higher education. Just to point out, here's the website, and we've now got a pathway within which students can follow and be supported to submit an application for fellowship status through the university, and you'll be awarded it. It will be an Advanced HE fellow qualification, if you like, and recognition, but it's awarded through the university because we've teamed up with the Advanced HE in order to offer that, and also particularly offer it on this program. And just by way of showing you, I talked about one of our PG certificate students has been through that process and was awarded a couple of months ago, was the first one to be awarded from our programs the fellowship status. So that was a real positive for us, and we think that adds another really useful dimension. If people are wishing to take that up, we'll support you through that application process. So I'm hoping that I've managed to convince you that this is a program that is right for you, and you should hopefully really want us to join in your journey as you develop as educators. But if I haven't, maybe a bit of a hard sell with some propaganda here from one of our excellent students who's been through our program and is now on the DPhil program, and has commented quite nicely on his experience of the teaching course. Failing that, then we can just go for outright appeal to authority, and talk to you about some of the people that you get to see on our program, and who deliver discussions and talks and are leaders in this field. And then failing that, we can always resort back to hopefully we can resort back to your stomachs, and maybe that can convince you that you do need to come on this course. In terms of sort of need to knows, I'll leave the slide up there. Like I said, we're recording this session, so you'll have this information to look at in your own time. But this is the key information that you're going to need to know between now and between now and March for your submission deadlines, plus some of the website information there. Thank you again for your time and joining.